And I remember she gets this kind of haunted expression on her face, and she leans into me and she says, "Listen, I have experienced this. Your grandmother has experienced this. It means the devil is after you and you need to get right with God." Okay. So when I was 10 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night one night and realized that I couldn't move. I couldn't move my arms, I couldn't move my legs, and when I went to call out, I realized that I couldn't speak. In fact, it felt like there was a weight sitting on my chest preventing me from getting a good deep breath. And as I lay there, slowly panicking, thinking that I was probably gonna die, after a few moments, I was finally able to move, and I got up off the bed, and I ran to my mom, and I'm hyperventilating and crying and trying to explain to her what had just happened to me, like, "Mommy, help me." And I remember she gets this kind of haunted expression on her face, and she leans into me and she says, "Listen, I have experienced this. Your grandmother has experienced this. It means the devil is after you and you need to get right with God." Okay. Like, I wasn't sure what to say to that exactly, but if you can imagine, by 10 years old, I had seen TV shows and movies where kids had run into their parents' room after a nightmare, and they got hugs, and they got tucked into bed, and they got told everything was gonna be okay. And I got, "The devil is after you." You know what I mean? Like, I was not reassured whatsoever. In fact, I was terrified. I was so terrified that I took my mom's advice because this kept happening night after night. And I thought, okay, well, if this is somehow caused by the devil, then maybe I need to lean into God. So I prayed to God every night before bed, but the devil kept coming. And then I read Bible scripture after Bible scripture before bed, but the devil kept coming. And then I would perform these weird rituals that I thought may be divinely inspired by God, to the extent where it probably looked like I was holding a nightly seance in my bedroom. But the devil kept coming and coming and coming until I just felt hopeless, like I was cursed. But I did learn little tricks, like if I did deep breathing and got myself to relax, I could move faster than if I panicked and struggled to move at the onset. Fast forward several years later, I'm a freshman in college. I pull an all-nighter studying for midterms. I get back to my apartment where I live alone, and I am exhausted. I conk out on my bed, all my clothes on, and I go to sleep. Then I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't move. I can't move my arms, I can't move my legs, I can't call out, and it feels like there's something sitting on my chest preventing me from getting a good deep breath. And I'm frustrated because, this again. But I start counting in my head, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and then all of a sudden I hear this, like my bedroom door slowly creaking open, and then I hear thump, 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 thump around my bed, thump, thump, thump along the side of my bed, and then I feel someone actually bump the side of my bed as they stop next to me. And then I can feel someone sit down on the edge of the bed, and I can actually hear the coils in the bed creaking and feel the bed lower as they sat down next to me. Forget deep breathing, I am panicking. Because 1, I'm completely immobile and I can't protect myself. 2, I can't even turn my head to see who this is sitting next to me. And 3, in my zeal to study hard and become the best student that I could be, the prayers and the Bible scripture reading and the seances had diminished substantially. And so I'm laying there kind of thinking to myself, devil, is that you? Like, I'm nervous that I somehow opened myself up to this and that the devil caught me slipping. So I'm bracing myself for what's about to happen next, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and nothing happens. Like, I can still feel someone sitting next to me, but no one speaks to me, no one reaches out to touch me. So I think to myself, the only way that I'm really gonna get out of this is if I can get myself to relax so I can get myself to move and see who this is. So I start deep breathing again and counting in my head, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and then all of a sudden I feel someone stand up, and I can actually feel the bed move up as they stood up, and then thump, 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 fast footsteps through the door, and then I heard my bedroom door slam shut really loud to the point where it felt like the walls were shaking. A few moments later, I'm able to move, I get up off the bed, I look around the room, the closets, under the bed, nobody's there. I run through my bedroom door, which is open just as I had left it the night before. I looked in the kitchen, in the living room, nothing. I checked the windows, which were locked from the inside. I checked the doors, which were locked from the inside. So a few moments later, I'm sitting at my kitchen table, drinking a cup of coffee because I have no intentions of going back to bed. And I just feel this increasing sense of desperation that I have to figure out what is going on. So I end up reaching out to one of my professors who I consider a friend and a mentor. And much to my surprise, he does not call me crazy, and he listens to me with empathy, and he even recommends that I see a specialist. And when I see that specialist and they evaluate me, they tell me, listen, what's really happening is that you have a sleep disorder called recurrent isolated sleep paralysis. People who have this disorder often wake up in the middle of the night, unable to move or speak, feeling like they can't get a good deep breath. It can happen sometimes very frequently, sometimes multiple times a week, multiple times a night, often triggered by stress and sleep deprivation. And it tends to run in families. He went on to say that it's also associated with some really scary sleep hallucinations, and the sleep hallucination that I experienced is so common among people with sleep paralysis that it has its own name, and it's called the Intruder. So I was so relieved to finally had an answer as to what was happening to me that it not only inspired my interest in medicine, but I became a doctor specializing in neurology and sleep medicine. I have done research on sleep paralysis. I have treated patients who have this disorder. And unlike my mother, who remained haunted by the devil, I consider myself a woman of science. However, I do still have sleep paralysis. And when I get visits from the Intruder, I do have a tendency to get down on my knees and try to make peace with God.